it's my honor and privilege to be here today, and I would like to thank the principal for extending me the invitation. And I'm very happy to see a lot of young crowd here who are going to graduate very soon, and then who are going to enter the world of, let's say, like as a professionals in pharmaceutical world, right? So you have a lot of things. So by choosing pharmacy education, you have chosen to have a commitment towards betterment of mankind, right? So if you look at pharmacy, it's a very noble profession. Whatever you do, no matter let's say you end up in R&D, you go to even let's say sales or whatever function you enter, you go to industry, academia, doesn't matter where you go, you have a common goal, right? So you're all trying to do good for the mankind, right? So that's what it is. So if you just think of it, and then whenever, whatever you do, whatever actions you do, if you think that you are doing it all for betterment of mankind, I'm sure that you are going to do wonders. You are going to do great. Okay. So specifically, let's say I'll come to the topic. Like the theme of today is let's say promoting. It's rightly so. Like once you have the foundation of education, research, then comes the innovation, entrepreneurship, etc. Right. So it's always to have a good to have a very good solid foundation. So I'm sure, let's say, as you have chosen your courses, you'll be studying a lot of things about, let's say, all the different fundamentals. Like when you look at the research also component as well, you have to be very sure that what is that you are going to do, let's say, different, right? So you can't be just doing research for the sake of research. So I'm just talking about, let's say, the basis for innovation, right? So what do you mean by research? What do you do in research? Generally, anyone? What do you do in research? Why do you do research? You find something new, or you try to solve a problem. You try to do something better, right? So that is what you are trying to do. So when you look at research and innovation, they are not very different. Innovation is also you are trying to do something new. You're trying to find something new, right? And then when you talk about entrepreneurship, so you might have heard, so these days it's very common to talk about entrepreneurship. It was not so, let's say, common earlier. These days, a lot of people know what is a startup, right? So especially, let's say, if you talk about maybe IT industry, so once upon a time, which is just 10 years ago maybe, nobody wanted to take up a job in a startup. The moment the companies had to mask, when they go for recruitment, they have to mask that they're a startup. They have to pretend to be a MNC, or they have to pretend to be a larger company. But these days, the trend has changed completely. All the students would want to definitely at least have one internship in a startup, or have a job in a startup. Then it's not very different in pharmacy as well, because there are a lot of pharma companies, there are a lot of pharma startups. Thanks to a lot of government of India initiatives such as BIRAC, which started in 2012, so which is been promoting a lot of innovation and entrepreneurship in pharma, healthcare, biotech, medtech, all these allied areas, right? So it's very important for you to really understand what is that you are going to do better, let's say with respect to innovation or a startup or entrepreneurship. So I would like to link it in a very simple terms. In research, what you would do is you would try to look at most difficult problem, and you will try to solve. Probably you want to come up with a formulation which is easily, let's say, dispersible, or you want to do something, let's say, change one form of delivery to another form of delivery. Maybe you want to go for targeted drug delivery. You have a lot of options, right? So you don't have to really necessarily do something which is groundbreaking always, right? So there are two types of innovations, or let's say in terms of research, right? You can do something incremental, or you can do something exponential. So it is always let's say, you don't have to always do something out of the blue, right? Out of the box. Just having common sense to let's say maybe make a solve a problem, simple problem, right? So that is good enough. Maybe repurposing of a drug, let's say there is a drug which is available for certain indication which is approved. Maybe you have a for orphan disease, right? So for orphan disease, like you all know what is orphan disease, right? Lot of innovations, let's say a lot of formulations and a lot of products which are coming out of a lot of larger companies. They are only the ones which are sure to make them very highly profitable. Let's say maybe 20 times the profit of what they like not 20, maybe 200 times of what they spend on R&D, right? So that is how the scale is in larger companies. Something which is smaller, which won't fetch them lot of profit, they would not be working on it, right? So probably you can take up something like that. So even if you repurpose a drug, let's say for orphan indication, or maybe come up with some new formulation and all, so all these smaller things itself are substantial. So you can do research, understanding that you are trying to do something good. So when it comes to innovation, innovation and entrepreneurship are closely linked. So what you try to do is you not only do let's say research in finding something new, you also try to ensure that it goes to the end users, right? So maybe it gets manufactured as a drug and it goes to the let's say caregivers or the patients. That's what you try to do, something extra. Okay, so I just want to tell you that innovation and entrepreneurship is something not out of the box, not something which nobody knows. Everyone of us know what is innovation and entrepreneurship. But if you let's say, as I told in the beginning, if you think of your whatever you're trying to do, it's for betterment of mankind. If you think of that, and then if you try to see that how do I solve this problem, not only stop there in solving the problem, ensure that it is translatable, ensure that it goes to the market, it goes to the right intended users, right? If you intend to, let's say, if you do that with a purpose, so that is your innovation. Entrepreneurship is actually taking it, right? So in terms of, let's say, I would just like to take a step back and tell you, do you know what is technology readiness level? Have you heard of technology readiness level? It's a really good thing for all of us to know what is technology readiness level. Okay, so I keep telling this everywhere. So the basic concept came from NASA. So if you I don't know, if you read news, one fine day you will see that you got photos from Neptune or some distant star and all, right? So those photos are coming. If you read a little bit more detail, the satellite or the mission would have been initiated maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? So you can understand, if you have to do such a thing, you probably need 20 years of planning, 30 years of planning. You need technology, you need a lot of things to come up, right? So that's where they released a concept called technology readiness level, which would put all of their technologies at a different scale. We started TRL1, technology readiness level 1, and we go till 9. So generally, let's say it is classified as 3 categories: research, development, and deployment. That's what we call as. Okay, so there are total 9. We divide them in 3, 3, 3. Okay, so if you understand in pharmaceutical, let's say, domain, there are a lot of things for drugs. There are let's say different because what you do for, let's say, biosimilars is different. What you do for just IND is a different in investigational new drug, and if it's a new drug, it is different. Vaccine, it is different. Biotherapeutics, it's different, right? So there are a lot of domains. Everything has a different path for you to move forward. So Government of India has now, let's say, adopted the TRL levels, which was popularized by NASA in 1970s, and especially if you go to BIRAC website, if you search BIRAC, BIRAC, TRL, and you will get a page with different TRL levels for different areas, as I said. Why is it important? So it actually, let's say, if you want to go from education, research, then innovation and entrepreneurship, this is very important. Okay, so if you understand, let's say, maybe in this particular event, what do we have? We have few people who are on the dais, right? So there are presenters and there are the audience, right? So everyone has a role. Can we just do this particular event only with presenters, only with dais, like people on the dais? No, we need everybody, right? So similarly, TRL levels are very, very important for you to understand what role you are going to play, right? Either are you coming at research level, development, or deployment. Okay, so if you understand there, let's say, if you do as per this framework of TRL levels, you will understand that if you, let's say, if as a third party I come and look at your research, I know that you have followed a framework and I know what you have done. If you say you have done TRL level 3, then I know that you have done in vitro studies, right? So next, if you want, I can come and take your technology, and then I can do TRL level 4, 5, and somebody else can do TRL 7, 8, and all. Okay. So this is to just tell you and then inform you about that everything is interconnected. Your education and then research, innovation, entrepreneurship, everything is there, and there are a lot of opportunities for you to right now concentrate on. Maybe you want to go into directly into startup, you want to have your companies. It's very easy. There are a lot of funding schemes which are available by different government bodies, state government, central government. There are a lot of bodies. So just to name a few, there is something called as MSME Idea Hackathon, which is a series wherein they give around 15 lakh rupees for students. If you are a student, doesn't matter which student you are, whether you are an undergraduate, postgraduate, doctoral student, doesn't matter. Everyone gets 15 lakh rupees to prototype their idea. And yeah, of course, whatever I'm talking is relevant to you. It's for overall healthcare as a domain, right? It could be pharmaceutical, it could be medical device, or whatever it could be. So you can even, let's say, while you're studying, come up with if you have come up with your idea, you can approach your institute as well would have it. And anyway, I'm happy to help you as well if you need any guidance. So you can apply for starting from 15 lakh rupees as a student. So if you ask others, it was very difficult earlier. As a student, your voice is not heard at all, right? So basically you're not encouraged, not now, I'm telling maybe a few, a decade ago maybe, so there was no opportunity. Now you can think of an idea, start, let's say you get your funding, let's say 15 lakh rupees. If there are some other schemes by state government, central government, wherein you can, after finishing your, let's say, bachelor's degree or master's degree, you can, for 1 year, they will give you monthly fellowship. Okay. So the fellowship can start as low as 30,000 rupees to something like maybe even as a bachelor's, you can even get easily 60,000 rupees monthly fellowship. It could be for 1 year to 1.5 years, only for you to pursue your ideas. Okay, only for you to even we had one graduate with us from pharmacy who joined something called a social innovation program. So he entered let's say with empty hands. He had no idea. So with that scheme, he went and observed different areas. Let's say it was on maternal and child health, right? So he went to different clinics, he went to doctors, he tried to identify the problem, and then he found out the biggest problem is over prescription of antibiotics, right? For pediatric cases in diarrhea, right? It's very common to have diarrhea, right? But most of the times we don't know what is the cause. As parents, we are concerned. Doctors are also under pressure to prescribe antibiotics. But when do you prescribe antibiotics? You do it only when? If it is a bacterial infection. You don't do it for viral infection. But do you know what is the prevalence of bacterial versus viral? So it would be almost equal, okay? Or in some cases, it would be probably, some regions, it would be more viral than bacterial, right? So unnecessary antibiotics are being prescribed for kids or infants, maybe even toddlers who are of 1 year age or 2 years of age and all, right? So that he developed a test, simple test with this concept that he wants to identify, he found a biomarker. He would take a sample from the poop and then measure, let's say from whether it's bacterial infection or diarrheal. If it is bacterial, you prescribe. So this is just a 15 minutes. When you go to a doctor, you collect a sample, fecal sample. Fecal sample will tell you whether to prescribe or not. So this is something very simple. So he just tried to solve a simple problem. So I'm just encouraging you to think of problems around you and the education support which you have got. If you have not learned something, it's high time to learn. Of course, not everyone can be expert in every area. So you can choose a problem and then try to develop your expertise around it. Okay. And just last thing what I would like to tell you is, which is compulsory to talk about, AI is something which is coming up everywhere, right? So if you look at AI, maybe just 1 year ago to now, it's very, very advanced. So please don't use it for your, let's say, cheating or writing your assignments, but try to use it for the good. So there are, like, let's say, with genomics, with multiomics and all, we used to generate a lot of data. Now it's very easy with AI to do drug discovery, right? So I don't know whether you heard in the news that somebody, like, let's say, came up with using AI a new drug target and a new molecule which can, like, let's say, solve a particular disease, right? So there are a lot of things which are going to happen. You may have to, depending on what area you choose, if you are going to drug discovery or whatever, like, I'm sure that AI is going to touch every area. Please be sure that you are updated with the latest trends. Don't think that it's only for software developers or coders and all, right? So you should think of more of an interdisciplinary approach. So probably you heard in my introduction, I'm not from pharmacy, I don't have any background, but I keenly work with everybody. Okay, so I interact with a lot of, like, people. So I'm very proud to probably tell you, just to probably inspire you, that I, as a PI, could get a grant of 10 crore rupees from Government of India to translate, uh, not for paid. It is for not for my work. My role is just a simple thing: identify academic research which has high potential for translation, and translate it to to industry. Like, let's say, transfer it to industry by doing clinical trials. So we do have clean room facilities and all. So we have identified 5 projects. 2 projects what we are supporting are from Tata Memorial, wherein BARC, which is for like under radiation, Ministry of Radiation, so they have developed a drug for radiation-induced pneumonitis. If you give this oral drug, it will stop the lungs from getting any, like, let's say, radiation-induced damage, pneumonitis, for any, like, let's say, radiation which you give for either breast cancer or for various other lung cancer and all, right? So this is there, it was lying for like 10, 15 years, right? So basically it's not that I'm proud to say that I'm like I've got it, but I've got a target on my back. So funding agency keeps on asking me, what is the status of this project? Has it been manufactured? Have you got a test license from CDSCO? Have you got a clinical trial license, CT4, CT5 and all? So have you done your clinical trials? So that is what I'm doing. So what I mean to say is, it's not very, very difficult. Don't think that you are limited by your education or limited by what you study, where you study. So I'm sure that if you are having, as I said, again, I repeat, if you have that vision that you want to do something good for mankind, I'm sure you are going to come up with something great. That's all with this. I would like to stop and thank everyone to give me opportunity.